I think he would have liked that. He's flown under the radar a bit, but at the same time, the focus cannot be taken away from Virat Kohli. Let's be very honest about that. क्योंकि अगर आप इंडिया का बैटिंग लाइनअप देखोगे, then it's very fragile. I mean, you look at the top order, you look at the middle order, you look at the way their match simulation went, you look at the way the New Zealand series went, and from that perspective, it cannot be denied that India's batting lineup is very fragile, and you need somebody as accomplished as Virat Kohli to score big runs. And from that perspective, uh, once the match starts, Virat Kohli will come into focus. And yeah, from an Indian perspective, you definitely want big runs. All this talk about, yes, I for a fact have thought कि बहुत सोचा है मैंने इस बारे में कि what happens if Virat Kohli doesn't score runs, and we've discussed on the show as well. What happens if Virat Kohli doesn't score big runs on this tour? We have discussed it. All of us have given our thoughts on this matter as well. But Virat Kohli, moving on from Virat Kohli for Indian cricket, it's not going to be very easy, and you don't expect somebody like Virat Kohli to just go away like that. You expect another comeback, another high. You expect a champion player like that to overcome whatever problems he might be facing at this point in time. So from that perspective, you would think that Virat Kohli will overcome this. And I would like your thoughts as well on this subject. Uh, Srini, what do you think? You've seen Virat Kohli up close. You've seen him dominate in that 2018 cycle, 2014 to 2018 cycle. You expect a champion player like that to just come up with the goods once more.
Well, see that I think that's the beauty of a tour like Australia. When something is not working with you, that's the one place you're pushed against a wall, and that's it. That's where all your options come to an end. So from there on, you either make a comeback, you either say you belong and you stand there and you tell us that there is cricket in you, or from there on you just perish and walk away. I think Virat Kohli stands at that cusp where this series, again, when we talk about Virat Kohli's career, inevitably that conversation will reel around his performances in Australia or performances against Australia, or the opposition like Australia that brings out the best in Virat Kohli. Inevitably, we'll be talking about his first two tours of Australia, especially 2015 when he took over as the captain. What kind of form where he was in? Inevitably, we'll talk about kind of aggression that the Indians learned from the Aussies, and Virat was at the helm of it, and what he preached and how he turned around India into a pace unit that could speak to them back in their own language. So many things that you generally talk about Virat begins to at some point, at any point in a conversation, relate with what he has done against Australia, and particularly so in the current conversation in Australia. So जब हम वहाँ पे we have come to the cusp of those discussions, then it's very obvious that this is where we expect a batter like Virat, who's obviously not in red hot form for a while now, to kind of show some. See, if this was not Virat Kohli, trust me, we would be speaking, kind of way too differently. I mean, because it is Virat, because ये India का इतना बड़ा batter है, you know that he's indispensable to the Indian team, because of what he's achieved, etc., etc. That there is this amount of respect when you have these conversations, and it's because it's not another player. I mean, we know because we have discussed KL Rahul, for instance, and his dismissal in that where he was bowled in the last Test series. So because it's Virat, we tend to give it so much importance because again the whole global Fab Four and one of the top runners in that. If any of that has to be taken into consideration, this is the star we expect him. And by the way, look at the irony here. There is only one thing that's more or less troubling Virat, right? The ball outside the off stump. More than anything else, if there is something that is troubling a Virat, he's just lost track of his off stump. He just has lost track of where his off stump lies. So
So, yeah,
from that
look,
perspective, I'll just complete this. From that perspective, there are so many lessons that he can take in terms of his predecessors, and figure out what is wrong.